Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Spiritual Remedy. Welcome, one and all. My name is Sunshine Day, and I see a world where clean and sober people, people who are abstinent, people who are spiritually led, are living their best life and loving it. And here at A Spiritual Remedy, we provide spiritual tools and loving support for your personal transformation. Our our what you call it? Our goal is to create a learning community where we learn spiritual practices and where we learn how to live together, living our best life. Let's see who's hanging out with us this morning. Looks like we have Lisa or Nancy. What's up? Lisa Sepp. I'm picking up what you're putting down now. So good to have you with us this morning. And we're also hanging out with Jan. Good morning, Jan. Top of the day to you. Hello, hello, hello. And none other than Sunny Day, who is speaking Spanish these days. She says, hola. Hola, hola. And Nancy this time is saying, okay, good morning again. Well, welcome everybody. I am so thrilled to be here today to talk about something that I also get to work on today. And what's amazing about this for me is that I'm not coming on to just talk about stuff that is for you, that I too am in the process of this. And one of the things that we recognize, especially at Vida Spiritual Learning Center, which is our producer of our shows and our host, and the center under which we have all of these courses and classes and workshops, is that I know for sure that I am also a work in progress and that I don't have it all together. And that I get to work on things, and that especially being minister is that I get to grow publicly. And in that, I want to just simply say that means that I get to humanize myself, that I get to talk about some of the challenges in my life as well, because I haven't arrived, but how using spiritual practices gets me through the other side, or provides some relief, or reveals the answers when I go within. And I think that's important because a lot of times I think of it when I think about religious people, and they when they talk about Jesus the Christ, and they talk about him being perfect and being this and being that, and how he did this, and how we need to be like Jesus, right? Or how we need to be like some other avatar. I tend to think of it in this way. If he was perfect, how could I then aspire to be that if I don't see myself as perfect as well, right? So if he had this human experience and fumbled and tumbled and had challenges himself, and got through those challenges, well then, yeah, maybe that's something I could aspire to. But if I have a superhero and then there's me, why would I aspire to be like the superhero when I don't have the same superpowers as the superhero? You get what I'm saying? And I think the same is true with us today, that as we quote unquote look up to people, or have mentors, or have people in our lives that are guiding us or leading the way, that we absolutely humanize one another and recognize that we're all in the same boat. Some of us may have a little more experience in certain areas than others. However, in that, we're simply guiding one another, and we creating a learning community where we can learn from each other. I love learning from young people because I love breaking that stereotype in my own head that because I've lived and breathed and been on this planet a little bit longer, that I know more than they do. And in fact, I learn so much from young people. It's super, super incredible for me to have that experience of learning from young people. Hey, Susan. Thank you for being here. Great to see you. Great to see you. Glad you're here with us. So today, again, now that I've given you that long, drawn out preface to what I want to talk about, I want to talk about accountability and about exploring whether or not we could actually hold someone accountable. And this is thought provoking because I know what it's like for me to be accountable to myself and for myself. And first, I think one of the things to look at is, and especially around, recovery, accountable to a sponsor, or accountable if you take a commitment at a meeting, or if you say you're going to be someplace, or if you say you're going to do something, having that commitment. And for me, accountability is the act of taking responsibility for my actions. So if I say I'm going to do something and I do it or I don't, but I take accountability, I take responsibility for it. Take accountability and taking responsibility for the choices and the commitments and the decisions that are for me and impact other people in my life. And I think that this is an essential part of building trust when we have people in our lives, whether it's family members or friends or partners, spouses, best friends, or people that we're even walking this path with. It's an essential part of building trust and maintaining healthy relationships and fostering personal growth. So the question is can you hold someone accountable? I'd love to hear from you on that. What do you think? Can you hold someone accountable? Go ahead and put your answer in the chat for me. Can you hold someone accountable? If responsibility is, for self, and I'm responsible for me or my commitment, my word, can I hold you accountable? Is that really a thing? What do you think? Yes, no, thumbs up, thumbs down. Let's hear from a couple of people. And what I can tell you is that we cannot directly hold someone else accountable for their actions. Wah, 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 wah. I can't directly hold someone accountable for their actions. Accountability, comes from within, and it's a personal choice. However, I can influence, I can encourage accountability in others through my actions, through my communication, through my being honest and having, honest conversations with people. But I cannot directly hold other people accountable. It's an inside job. And the question becomes like, how do we be in relationship then? If I can't hold someone else accountable, if someone is not keeping their word, if someone's not doing what they said they would do, what happens then? So what do we do when people don't follow through on their promises or behave irresponsibly? And that's the key is that since I cannot hold someone else accountable, then what is my responsibility in that relationship? What do I get to do? And because we're in relationships with so many people, friends, family, spouses, partners, in the workplace, in places of business, in our communities, what do we do when people don't follow through? Well, one of the things to do is start by having an honest and as much as you possibly can non-judgmental conversation. Now, can I really be non-judgmental? No, I already have a judgment And I could, and my judgment is made up for sure, but I can start by having a conversation, an honest conversation with the person, and express my concerns as to how their behavior impacts me, how it impacts our situation, how it breaks down trust, how it impacts me. Because I can't hold you responsible or accountable. That's an inside job. And so, yeah, like, am I being accountable? Thank you. Jan says here, when I schedule time to meet with someone, I show up and they don't, like sponsees. I talk to them about the time I took out of my day to meet with them, right? Hopefully I can teach them responsibility. Yeah, hopefully so, right? So that's that part that I'm talking about right here and right now is having that honest conversation. Hey, I took time out of my day. And here's what my time means to me, how precious my time is. And when, like, yeah, I wait 15 minutes. I might make a phone call. Hey, are you okay? It's usually not like you. I try to err on that kind of thing. It's not like you not to show up. Are you okay? Um, and I go from there. The other thing is to set boundaries and determine what you're willing to accept and what you won't tolerate. So so for me, my boundaries is I wait about 15 minutes or so, and then I make a phone call or send a text. Are you okay? I'm leaving. Or we're going to leave at this time. Are we in agreement? And we say, yeah. And unless something else is negotiated at that time, it's time to go, and we leave. But having the conversation, setting boundaries, and then also, here's where the responsibility comes in, especially as people in recovery and people who are looking to live their best life, is I got to lead by example. So I get to be an example of accountability, and I get to demonstrate the behavior of someone who is responsible, and to have that accountability within myself. And that's sometimes very, very, very difficult. Nancy says, isn't holding someone else accountable an expectation of others? What's the difference between the two? Great question. And hello, Debbie Trojan. Glad you're hanging out. Yeah, if I have, I do. And I have an expectation of people when I'm trying to hold them accountable, right? Um, and that is when I have this expectation that you're going to show up when you say you're going to show up, or you're going to live up to whatever it is you said you were going to do or be or say, just kind of even like the situation that Jan brought up about scheduling a meeting with somebody, and or even when they're the ones who schedule the meeting, or they say, okay, can we talk about this later? Can you come up with this and come up with that, and then we'll meet and then we'll talk about it, and then they don't have it, like they don't have what they said they were going to do, and or they don't even show up, or you got to hound them about showing up. Like, these are the kinds of things where, yeah, I have an expectation that if you say you're going to be somewhere, you're going to be there. Now, the difference between the two is simply that I get to say, hey, I don't appreciate it. Or even, I resent you for not showing up. And have that honest conversation with the person and say, I'm only going to wait 15 minutes. If you're not here, I'm leaving, because I take time out of my day to meet with you. And when you don't show up, it's a waste of my time, and I don't have that kind of time to waste. And setting those boundaries and leading by example. If I say I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there. If I'm going to be late, calling that person, going, hey, I'm not gonna. I've been delayed. I'm running a little behind schedule. I mean, yesterday I had a great example of that. I had a ceremony at the Huntington Beach Center for Spiritual Living, and the minister and I said, that we were going to get there early. I said, okay, I'll be there at 9:30. On my way there, I realized there was no way that I was going to be there at 9:30. So, of course, I pull over, I send a text and say, hey, I'm delayed. I got a late start. I'll be there before 10 o'clock. She sends me a thumbs up with a smiley face kind of thing. And it's like, great. That's me having accountability. I said I would be there at 9:30. If I'm not going to be there at 9:30, let me communicate and let people know that. It's a it's quite interesting. And my expectations, that's on me. If I have that expectation of somebody, that's on me. Number two, if someone says they're going to be there, that's on them, right? They said they were going to be there, so I naturally expect that to happen. Now, with expectations, we all know that we may get disappointed. However, I get to honestly communicate. I can't hold them accountable. They're going to be who they're going to be. They're going to show up, not show up, but I get to communicate. I get to set my own boundaries for my own well-being. I get to lead by example. And then I get to evaluate the relationship, right? I get to consider the impact of how this lack of accountability impacts the relationship. And sometimes it's absolutely necessary to reevaluate whether the relationships align with your values and they align with your goals. And sometimes, when you can love people as much as all outdoors and love them, it doesn't make them more accountable, less accountable, but you get to reevaluate that. And you get to look and go, wow, is this in alignment with how I live and how I want to live? Or is this a little more taxing for me? And then I think the last things as we're quickly coming to an end, and we'll probably go over a couple of minutes, is support but don't enable. Support but don't enable. And by that I mean, offer, that's my New York, offer support and encouragement, but avoid enabling destructive behavior, constant lateness, or not being a person of their word when they say they're going to do something. Is like, avoid that. That's destructive behavior. And the more and more you continue to enable that kind of behavior, the more entangled in that you become, and then it again has you reevaluating your situation. So, when faced with someone who lacks accountability, and it might be me myself, right? It's essential to reflect on your own participation in the situation. So here's a couple of quick questions that you might want to ask yourself. And that is, am I communicating clearly? Like, have I really expressed my expectations in a way that's clear? Because I can have expectations, but then if you're in agreement, then we're in agreement. So am I communicating clearly? And are my expectations realistic, Nancy? Am I really being realistic? And am I enabling? And do I need to set my own boundaries? And how does this relationship align with my own values and with the way that I want to live my life? And while we can't directly hold other people accountable, we can absolutely create an environment that encourages responsibility and that, in essence, recognizes growth. And accountability starts with me. So I got to be accountable to me. And if I'm not accountable to my values and my goals and how I want to live, how do I expect other people to do that? So we are a minute over time, only because we started 2 minutes late today, and I apologize for not starting the show on time. We had some technical glitches, and I absolutely appreciate you for everything that you have done and said, and all your participation. I see Sunny has commented, sounds like a mix of personal boundaries, expectations of compassion or understanding, but it doesn't work for you. Let it go. Good deal, right? Hi. And then Susie. Hey, Susie. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. I want to remind you that we do a gratitude text list. Send me your gratitudes and I will send you my gratitudes back. Know that you're loved. Take a look at accountability. Am I being accountable to myself? Am I being accountable with others in my life? And on this road of happy, joyous, and free, remember that you are always our cause. Until the next time, know that you are loved. Mwah. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.